And hi there, we are going to assess number 3 Acacia Avenue, or Acacia Grove, should I say. Uh, I happen to quite like heavy metal, and there's a band called Iron Maiden who penned a song called 22 Acacia Avenue, and I just couldn't help but think of their heavy metal music and this place, because it's also one of those odd things. It's like a placeholder name for just a street, a regular street somewhere in the country. Anyway, let's have a look at this place. It is very popular. Yeah. So I think bidding is going to be absolutely intense on this property, and you'll see why. Now, the very first thing is the property was removed by the agent. What that means is they're not taking any more viewings, so they just take it offline so that they don't get more phone calls, because they've just been inundated with phone calls. And I know this because I corresponded with the agent about stuff. And here we have a little trick that Martin came up with, which is sometimes if a property is removed from site, you can see, you can go to previous sale of property, and quite often they use the current particulars for the previous sale, and this seems to be what's going on. So straight off the bat, I'm not going to dwell upon this right now because I want to focus on the files. We've got a lot of stuff here. So Nancy, who works with us, is kind of very interested in the property, not for herself, I hasten to add, but she wants to do more viewings, so she decided to tag on with the viewer person and do her own assessment, and then you'll expect to see Nancy around the place more on viewings within the Stockport kind of south central Manchester catchment. Anyway, these are pictures she's taken, and we can see it's got lining paper. A lot of lining paper is usually a relatively bad sign, but I would say this property looks as though it has original plasterwork on it. The reason being that this very ornate cornicing is just not modern. You really hardly ever get it because it's expensive, and people prefer the small coving, which you just buy in strips and stick it in insert it in the wall. So that's interesting. I'm curious to see if she comments on this anywhere. Anyway, staircase, more chipboard lining paper covering up whatever it is. That's not pleasant. I think with this kind of property, it's likely to demand a full renovation because of the position and there's kind of general market for this, but we'll get into that later. This is vinyl, not even laminate, not a great thing. So far this looks kind of economy. This looks like it's not, that it's not plasterboard, and it is plaster and lath. What's plaster and lath? It is this bad stuff here. In the old days, there was no such thing as plasterboard, so tradespeople would put strips of wood up and then squidge plaster through. There's some there, squidgy, and it would kind of hold. It was okay for walls, but it was never a perfect finish. And for ceilings, if it gets wet, because there's relatively little adhesion to the lath, then it's prone to collapse, and it never gives a perfect finish. So what happens with houses like this is people subconsciously kind of know that it's got an undulating surface, so it just draws down from the house. So if the house is seen as a character property, fine, you have wobbly walls and wobbly ceilings. But for a house like this, where people kind of expect a certain quality of renovation, this is not really a good place to be. In other words, it needs a pretty extensive renovation if you're going to make it a nice property. Now, if it was a £130,000 property in Crewe or Doncaster, different story. But this is creeping towards the kind of premium level, and I suspect bidding will be intense because of its location, which we'll get into in a minute. So overall, I would say that decoration and quality of the decor is not great, honestly. Well, I'm always honest about these things because our job is to tell the truth and about property, and I'm saying this is not looking great. You can see here, for example, the walls are probably original plaster because they're all over the place. You can see lots of undulations and so on. And it's had lots of lining paper just covering up various sins over the past. As I said, to make this an attractive residence, commensurate with location, etc., it's probably going to need quite a lot of money. And you can see here the laminate's getting a bit worn. It's also not been installed properly. Just little details like that.
Nancy said that the ceilings and the walls have problems.
Yeah, it's not looking great, I would say, so far. And we have more modern bathroom fittings, but the fundamentals of this property so far, certainly with plasterwork and stuff, aren't looking great. Bathroom's okay, reasonably nicely done. The ceiling probably needs redoing, but the walls are okay. It's got some sort of a paneling on it, as you see. And same story here. It's the original plasterwork. Now, for the exterior, we have this portico and this thing. I'd like to see a picture of the exterior. It is cavity brick. Do you know what the EPC is, Martin?
The 65 score.
Well, that's okay, actually. It's quite good.
66, basically. And to be C, it needs 69.
Yeah,
and
so
that's
close.
It's need cavity wall insulation, flood insulation, low lighting to improve heating controller, replace the boiler. So basically, you need to replace the boiler, and that's around 2,500. Heating control is around 550 pounds in for low lighting energy. So basically, with all that, you can increase the EPC to C.
Good. And the fascia board looks okay. The gutters look okay. This fascia looks okay. Windows seem to be okay so far. So okay, we know that it's very close to getting EPCC, which is a good thing. It de-risks from the point of view of possible EPC legislation from the government.
Good cars on the road.
Yeah, it's a very good area, but very badly decorated.
Yeah, and I want to say that this property is tenanted 750 paying in the moment, but they know that it can be increased to 950 or they will leave. We need to find you because tenants, I think, live 6 years here.
Yeah.
Or 3.
The other issue is yeah, okay. The issue is just poor decoration. Yeah, okay, let's watch a video or two, shall we? What's that, Martin?
Yeah, you have viewers?
Yeah.
Okay, and I will play Nancy videos as well. So.
Thank you.
I just want to compare.
Yeah, it's certainly a very nice road in an amazing location with green space.
Busy, but very nice.
Yeah, it's also interesting when you have a road with quite a lot of cars and decent cars. It's like there's quite a lot of money on the road, as it were, and that's encouraging. But we haven't looked at the crime and demographics quite yet. It is really, it is a property that has never had a back to bricks renovation in its life. And this looks to me like 1900s to 1920s building, is it? Do you know the age?
Before, it's between 30 and 50s.
Oh, is it?
Basically before the Second World War.
Okay, well then, all right, so that's fine. So what that means is it's going to be decent on the damp front. So in other words, it'll have proper damp-proof coursing. It's unlikely to have damp issues. Certainly the bricks are reasonably good quality, which is an important thing, because if the bricks are terrible, you can't rebuild a house really. So that's all good. It's just that during that pre-war period where they were paying attention to damp proofing, but it was plaster and lath, then you got this problem. Now, I say most, 70% of properties that I analyze with Martin have had a back to bricks renovation. In other words, the plaster and lath has been taken out and they have put in plasterboard, which existed from the 1950s.
I want to add that we analyze more, but we start scoring in the last 70s property.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of assessments.
We didn't did scoring in the first like 3-4 months.
We've done, how many assessments have we done? We've done 100 and however many Vubra things, plus all of the ones pre-Vubra. We've probably done like 200 assessments by now.
Until now, we have in our Zoho tickets 326 collapsed deals.
Wow.
That's including also what we use, the viewer, like we didn't book a viewing. So let's assume 200, and plus all the progression and all the accepted offer and so on.
Yeah.
I guess at least 200 we did.
All right. So in respect to the fundamental quality of the building, it's good. It's just that no one's done the back to bricks yet, which means you essentially have to tear the house apart and more or less start all over again if you're going to rip out all the plaster and so on. And that's because plaster and lath is incredibly dirty. I don't mean dirty like dirty. I mean dirty like soot and grime and dust and so on. And therefore, if you're going to do it, you have to do it vacant possession, and you have to expect the dirt to get everywhere. And if you do that, you're good to go. So all that lined paper would have to be removed. Now, I think we've seen enough on the condition front. Let's just talk about some of the other matters, which gives us context, because if this area is amazing and the demographics are really good and the property prices are generally high and all of that good stuff, then that reinforces the argument that, yes, you know what, you're going to have to just bite the bullet, as it were, get on with it and spend on a deep renovation. Now, it's the green space, so much of it, which is very interesting, but that's for Martin to dig into because that's his domain. And I'm just going to talk about demographics very briefly. This has an unusually high proportion of ABs, which is interesting, relatively speaking. So good ABs, less down here, but more around here. And we are kind of in this zone here. And it's kind of quite heavy on C1s. It's an interesting area. It's very mixed, but overall, I would say it's definitely on the higher end of the spectrum demographically. Very English area, and also a family area. So average kind of family, lots of family. So, all right, on crime, it is generally, there's something going on around here, but I suspect it's because of this back road here. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but maybe there's been a little bit of trouble. It's a little on the crimey end, but it's not too bad. It's still relatively low. It's certainly not alarmingly high.
No.
It's just a little bit high.
If it's more than 15, it's like more too high, but now, or medium, now it's not. No. Depends. So it's also close to park, so usually next to park you have more crime, for example.
So let's have a look at the, I'm just going to save this because I've created a new view in this so that we've got postcode district boundaries and MSOA boundaries. All right, so SK5 as a whole is red hot, to use a phrase. It's astonishing growth around there. It is, let's have a look, based on the last 3 years, there's only 2% of areas in the whole of the UK that have higher capital growth than this. So it is absolutely scorching. And if we look at the other variables, so a key variable is whether there's a lot of local authority housing in an area. And if there is, quite often, if it's very in demand and being gentrified, then these properties get sold off, bought at discount, sold at a huge premium, which skews the capital growth numbers. But here we don't have that. And we are seeing extremely strong absolute growth. So this is not nominal, this is inflation adjusted growth. So in other words, in real terms, property has gone up 14% in the last few years. Now, this is slightly out of date. I will be updating it as soon as there's a new release from Office of National Statistics. But that's why we look at postcode district data, which is much more temporal, as it were. Yeah, it's very strong. And also in the last property cycle, in the boom phase, it rose 60% in real terms, declined 24%. That means there was a net gain overall if you bought within a reasonable time. Yes?
And I have, what do you think about the renovation? How much will cost?
I think you're looking at
15?
No, more than that, because it's such a comprehensive thing. I would say you're creeping towards 20,000 because you're going to have to replace. Everything has to be pulled out and put back again. So the kitchen will just be a mess. It needs reflooring throughout. It needs every single wall, every single bit of nasty plasterwork removing. But again, this is all down to, does the property demand it? And so far, with these kind of growth numbers, it's something. Now, okay, so that's that. Martin, over to you.
Because because Nancy, as I speak with Nancy, she suggests us to watch her videos. So I will share my screen. Just quickly. I will send these videos. She said that it's a wallpaper, but it's painted over.
Yeah, it's full of lining paper. It's because it's just bad plastering from a very long time ago that is decaying, and this is how you hold just holds the damage back basically by covering it up. And the wallpaper basically acts as a bonding agent and stops things falling off. Also, the wiring is probably very old, and that'll be an issue. So you could get away with buying it, renting it out, and so on.
Its ceilings needs works.
Yeah, everything needs doing.
So basically, as we notice, I will just click. Then I will go to the next one. Sorry about this, just quickly. I will send the video so you can watch it. Yeah.
How large is the property?
86 meters square.
Well, it's good size. It's 3 beds, isn't it? Or 2? Yeah.
I will send you the video. So
on the whole, for this kind of property, if it wasn't in a good area, like if it was in Crewe or Doncaster or someplace like that, and it was 125 grand, which is what these kind of properties would be in these kind of areas in this kind of condition, I wouldn't buy it because I just think it's too much aggravation to sort out. And as I say, about 60% of the time, somebody else has gone through the pain of a deep, deep renovation, so you don't. And even if the place looks untidy and the carpets are worn and the walls are smudgy, the fact is, if it's got plasterboard, if all the plaster and lath has been ripped out, then and the fundamentals are good with damp proofing and so on, then it's like, okay, that's fine. It's just a tidy up.
Yeah. So the location, I will just want to stop. So I will speak first for location. It's like really nice. I will set Nancy leaf around. I will not tell exactly where. And yeah, and it's 40 minutes to Manchester, but depends with what time. So if you go tomorrow at 12 p.m., you will arrive for 33 minutes. Depends when. You have trains, you have buses, so everything is nice with the location. You have also a lot of like stores here. You have also pharmacy. You have a lot of green space, which is always nice. Yep.
It's such a nice location. It's just disappointing. It's in such a mess.
Yeah.
But you know,
it looks nice, but it's not nice. It's just hide it. 86 meters square, EPCD 66, but you just need to replace the boiler and the lighting and heating thermostat control, and you will be see. There is no any flood risk, so that's good. And the rental should be around 950. Now there is tenant and they pay 750, but they know that the rent should be 950. So
what's the comparable?
Yep, the comparable is still loading. It has some issue. I will open Rightmove Plus. Yeah, comparable is 950. Yep, so sorry about this. Coal mining issue just set because the property is here and the coal minings are so far away. So
that's good.
Yep, it's always nice to have safety place and no risks involved. So if you go for rent,
and this assumes good rentable condition. So
yeah. This. And also we spoke with the agent, so 950, similar property. But good.
But that's in renovated condition.
Yeah. So yeah.
I think the problem with this property is likely that there's going to be a bit of a bidding war on this. Maybe. You know, one thing is me speculating. The other thing is me talking to the agent and working out exactly what's going on.
I know that Nancy has more information because she viewed the property. And yeah. The asking price is now is 100, I think. Yeah, this is the property, 200. And you can see that there is some who is 180, 250, terrace, 210.
Have you got real estate pictures? Can you just open that up? I'm curious to see what it does, whether it gives you the details.
Yeah, the same.
Oh yeah, so this is the historic one. Yeah. Fine. All right, and what are they asking?
200. I think they are too optimistic for the price, but
I think they are too. I think the estate agency pictures basically flatter the property. Yeah. People are diving into it because of the awesome location and all of that, and then they're getting a rude awakening when they realize, oops, it needs a lot of work. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot, and I'm saying like, if this place had 20 viewings, for example, at least half of them would be put off by the condition.
Nancy told me that it's supposed to have 60, or I remember you write on the notes. Yes. But only 20 are, like, they have 60 calls, but only 20 available. This success to view. It's super hot because this SK5, this location, like people do not say, but they're dying for it. So
I think you would expect.
Nice.
Yeah, it's awesome, but it's the condition, and for that reason, okay, let's just talk about yields and all of that. So let's say it's a bidding war. Let's say it's 210 plus you have to put in £25,000 in a deep renovation,
So
sorting the whole thing out. So it's new wiring, new plaster, sorry, new back to brick basically. So that's new plumbing, new wiring, probably reinstating the kitchen, reinstating the bathroom. It's not looking good, is it?
yeah, almost 5. No. So
now the argument in favor is that you have a massive gain on you know, on your
the only
growth.
thing like this property works is to keep the tenants 1 year. But again, on 210 the yield before the 3. So
yeah, I'm not seeing it for this. If it's the
look, if you have
problem,
more properties and you like specific like prime location, really nice location for really good size of property for 3-bedroom terraced house, because most of the time the 3-bedroom will be so tiny.
We'll talk about it as we score, shall we?
Yeah.
So okay. Score, I mean, score the property, not score a deal, score the property. And condition,
but
it's a 2.5 from, actually, you know what, it's a 2 from me. At least the property is fundamentally sound. It's just they never did the fundamentals to this property, which is just very disappointing. It's a real kind of, I'm not saying it's run down, but it would disappoint a serious buyer. The property demands better condition than this. That's what I'm saying. And somebody will spend the money, an owner occupier will buy it, and they'll gut it out and they'll do it because it's like the prime property, and that'll be fine. But that doesn't really help this deal. Okay, location exceptional.
Yeah,
what is
4.5
area?
Yeah, it's good.
4.5 again, or
no crime? Yeah, but the crime is not the best. It will be 3.8. Just
yeah, you're right. 3.8. Demographic is quite good.
Yeah,
it's not exceptional, but it's actually quite good. Capital growth is amazing. I'm going to give it a 4.6 because it's some of the highest growth in the country.
Yep.
And I know this because the data tells me so, because I've done the number crunching on it. And sell time.
It will fly this property. For this, I will give 5. It will not change.
Yeah.
Because so many viewers, so many competition for this.
But it's not that good a renter because it's such a hovel, basically. And that's
no, it will rent fly, but you need to do a lot
not for it won't achieve optimal rent, and it won't achieve an optimal tenant. And you know, we're in the game of best tenants, best renting, so it'll rent quickly.
Yeah.
Yield
low 2. It's not work.
It doesn't work. All right, so it's exceptional, but it's also exceptionally bad, relatively speaking.
This is more like the condition is disappointing.
Yeah. Again, the listings, the particulars will flatter the property. If you didn't know, you would go, "Ooh, what a nice house. Everything looks good. It looks huge. It looks like the ceilings are lovely." And if I was just working off this, that's what I would say. I would have a few suspicions because I would see that kind of undulation on the ceiling. Yeah, but overall, and I would say, okay, something's going on there. But overall, it's disappointing. Oh, well, there it is. All right. All right. There we are. Yeah, well, win some, lose some. Hopefully, if you have an appetite for a massive renovation and low yields, make an offer. All right.
And I think if it was this property 170, it will work, but 200 asking.
Yeah, they're very ambitious with it. It's overpriced. Anyway, there it is. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.